No, I was just gonna say, Judge, so with respect to
You're outside of the presence of the jury. We have counsel back. Go ahead, Mr. Hassel.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, so with respect to the statement that's gonna be played in court, Mr. Perangeli was kind enough to let me use his equipment. His intention is to play from, I think, 38:15 on.
No, I'm gonna.
We're gonna do
what you want, 32 on, and we're gonna mute where you want.
So Judge, what we're gonna do is, originally it was Mr. Perangeli's intention to play this statement from 38:15 on. Because there are portions of the statement earlier that I would like admitted, what we're going to do is we're gonna start playing it at, okay, sorry. We're gonna start playing it at 32:25.
All right.
And I have identified the parts of from 32:25 up until 38:15, where there is any mention of any test, any failing, anything like that. And so what I will be doing is I will be muting, I've tested this out, I will be muting the video as it plays so that the jury will not hear anything about passing, failing, test, anything like that. And then that way I think we don't have to delay any witnesses, we can also get in the evidence I need, and it will certainly be my responsibility to be hitting mute at the appropriate times, and that is on me.
Okay, and that's during his direct? You'll be doing that?
Yes, I mean, otherwise we have to play the video more than once, but I'll
Parties agree that's how you want to handle this issue of getting that portion of the tape in?
Yes, Judge, I think potentially if I need to later, I could certainly replay portions, but I think that's how we're gonna do it in the weekend.
And you have the means to do the muting?
Yes, Judge, I'm gonna pull up a chair and I'll be able to do that.
Both counsel agrees to this.
That's strategically what defense counsel believes is the best interest here. I am fine with that if that's his intention.
Yes, and I've discussed this matter with Ms. Hassel as well, is that correct?
Yes. Okay, if you're satisfied with that, that's how we will proceed. Knowing that, are we ready to bring the jury in?
We are, Judge. Or I am. We are.
We are? All right, we'll bring the jury in.
Please be seated.
All right, the record will reflect the jury is back appropriately seated in the jury box. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to continue. And Mr. Perangeli, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We will call Detective Andrew Longuski.
Good afternoon, sir. If you'd approach the podium, raise your right hand for the judge, please.
Do you hereby solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? This you do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
All right, have a seat.
Sir, if you would state your full name for the record and spell your last, please.
Andrew Longuski, Longuski.
I proceed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir, where do you work?
Michigan State Police.
Okay. And what do you do for the Michigan State Police, sir?
I conduct interviews for the Biometrics and Identification Division.
And how long have you been working for the Michigan State Police?
Be 25 years in September.
Okay. And what's your rank, sir?
I'm a detective first lieutenant.
And where do you work out of?
I work out of Lansing and Saginaw, but I conduct tests statewide.
You conduct, you do follow up interviews?
Interviews.
As part of your investigations?
Hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
You assist with other agencies?
Yes, I do.
And were you requested to help follow up on an investigation involving the murder of Army Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III?
Yes, I was.
Judge, I'm sorry to do this. Can we approach you?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very brief recess. I'm going to send you back to the jury room. Again, remind you, you cannot discuss this case. We should be back shortly.
All right, please.
All right, we are outside of the presence of the jury. Be seated. And Attorney.
Judge, I thank you. I appreciate you allowing us to clear the jury. And I know Mr. Perangeli has discussed this with me, and I'm sure the detective did not do it intentionally, but we've gone out of our way to make sure that the jury does not hear anything about a test, about a passing of a test, about a failing of the test. And the detective has been on the stand for 10 seconds, and he's already talked about how he does tests, and he does tests all over the state. I understand that he then caught himself and then started saying interviews. But now we're in a position where the jury hears that this is a guy who does testing, and here we are about to see video of the end of this. And I just have a strong objection to the remainder of his testimony entirely, because polygraphs and inferences and references to polygraphs are specifically not allowed, and yet now we have this witness who's just said, I'm a tester. And I don't think that there's any question that the jury, as we've discussed off the record, is going to be able to put 2 and 2 together here.
Okay. Mr. Perangeli.
I'm not sure exactly what the defense counsel is asking for right now.
Judge, I'm asking for, and I know this is a big ask, but this is the prosecutor's witness. He was informed, I certainly believe Mr. Perangeli, that he was informed that he's not to mention any kind of testing whatsoever.
I'm going to ask him first. Were you so informed?
I was informed, and that
Okay.
this has happened once in my career.
Just seconds ago?
No, once when I was a new guy, years and years ago.
Okay, another time. you
Yes.
mean.
I'm not I'm not going to suggest that the detective did this with any malintent or anything like that. And yet this bell has been rung, and this is one of these unringable bells, Judge. Again, I know it's a big ask, but I'm going to ask that this detective's testimony and his evidence be stricken from the record, because he himself has violated what the prosecutor has said to do, which is to not mention the word test, which we've discussed at length.
Your Honor, it's an inappropriate remedy in this case, and there's several reasons why. One, he can ask for a mistrial if he'd like to, which I also think would be an inappropriate remedy. There's not a manifest necessity of an injustice here. Under the test, I think it was people v. Roca, Your Honor, there has to be numerous things that the court considers. First, the mention of it, was it repeated or not? It was not repeated. Was it inadvertent or intentional? Clearly, I think the court can say, and I don't think the defense counsel would argue, I think he's already agreed, that this was an inadvertent slip. Third, no mention of polygraph was actually taken. It was only test, not polygraph, and that is important under the Roca test. And also, Your Honor, no mention of any type of passing or failing a polygraph test was mentioned at all. So I think under the circumstances, it was a very quick slip. I really quickly moved on from that, Your Honor. I don't believe there's a manifest necessity for mistrial in this case. A remedy of excluding his testimony is completely inappropriate.
All right. Obviously, this slip, as everybody's been referring it to, appears to be, and the court is completely convinced, was inadvertent. When people get up and testify, for everyone, it can be somewhat nerve-wracking, and something you just say rotely and routinely can come out. It's like when telling someone, don't talk about the elephant seated in the chair. The next thing they do after being repeatedly minded is talk about an elephant seated in the chair. This was not repeated. It was done once. It was done extremely briefly and went on immediately from there. I do agree with counsel, and I noted up here when counsel approached the bench, that there was no mention at all and no detail given about any kind of testing that the detective does. I didn't say what kind of testing he does. There are multiple kind of tests that are performed by the Michigan State Police, and it's to, anybody's imagination at this juncture as to what kind of testing he does without further testimony as to that. Also, there was no testimony regarding whether anyone passed or failed the test, if the test was done on physical evidence or on something else. So at this juncture, there's not been a request for mistrial. There's been a request to basically strike the testimony given and disallow any further testimony. I don't know that that's necessary here. I will instruct the detective myself not to talk about any kind of testing, polygraph, results of polygraph, or anything else. I think he understands that. I think he knows that. And I think, once again, clearly it was done inadvertently, very quickly, and at that point he actually went on and gave further testimony. It's possible the jury doesn't even remember that he said that particular word. I will note, though, although I will allow his testimony to continue, if at the end of the trial, when I give final instructions, counsel would like some particular curative instruction that you think that might be appropriate, the court will give that once reviewed. And
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe the appropriate case for the test in this is 110 Mishap, number 1, People v. Roca. A curative instruction can be requested by the counsel. They can have that at this juncture right now if they so choose, or they can let it pass completely.
I would give it,
I'll
right
probably.
now, but I was figuring he hasn't had time to formulate one or decide if
Well,
what thinks it's appropriate.
I'm sure I could make one up on the spot, Judge, but I think it would probably be more appropriate to address it at the end of the trial rather than, obviously.
Draw further attention.
Exactly, and it
Yes.
was a consideration whether to do this or not, but obviously I want to protect the record, so I appreciate the
Okay.
court letting me do so.
Okay, again, I will indicate this was an inadvertent slip, if you will. It was not repeated. No detail was given as to the type of testing, how often it's done, or what testing was done on in this particular case. So I will let the detective continue, and once again, I'll allow counsel to determine at any point in time if he wants a curative type instruction, all right?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Your Honor.
With that, counsel, can we bring the jury back in?
No objection.
No problem.
Maybe seated.
Again, the record will reflect the jury is back appropriately seated in the jury box. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to continue at this time. And Mr. Rangeli, your next question.
Thank you. Detective Longuski, we were talking about you will sometimes help out other agencies in doing follow-up investigations and follow-up interviews for other agencies. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And were you involved in follow-up investigation and interviewing involving the murder of Army Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And as part of that follow-up investigation, did you interview Kemia Hassel?
Yes, I did.
And before I point to her, I should ask you, is Kemia Hassel seated here in the courtroom today?
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're familiar with her?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And can you please point her out, describe an article of clothing that she's wearing, just for the record?
She's a young lady with glasses and a blue jacket.
Okay.
All right, the record will reflect that he has identified the defendant.
And did you meet with her, I guess probably the very early morning hours of January 12th, 2019?
That is correct.
Okay, and you met with her, what was your location where you met with her, sir?
Lansing.
Lansing? Okay. And if I could just have you speak up so the jury can hear you, okay? I just
Lansing.
want to make sure everybody can hear. Okay, great. And how does she take transport up to Lansing?
I believe she was brought by detectives.
And was one of those Sergeant Mike Lanier here
Yes,
and Officer Jeremy Peppers?
yes.
And when she got to Lansing to speak with you, did you indicate that, you know, your part of her, interviewing her is completely voluntary on her part?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell her she could leave at any time?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did she appear comfortable with you?
Yeah, she did very much so.
Okay, did she have any needs that she asked, like use the restroom or anything along those lines?
They were provided, offered.
Okay, and did she take advantage of anything that was provided for her as needed?
I believe she had something to eat. I'm not sure. I can't recall.
Okay. And sir, prior to you conducting your interview with her, you go over certain rights with her.
That is correct.
Okay. Commonly known as Miranda rights, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 117. Are you familiar with that form, sir?
Yes, I am.
How are you familiar with that?
This is the form that we signed that night.
Okay, that's a copy of it, sir?
A copy, yes, sir.
All right. And when you say we signed that night, did you sign that form?
I signed it also, yes.
And who else signed it?
Miss Hassel.
So when you go over the warnings with her, do you read them off that form?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have a system to make sure that she's hearing you and knows everything that you're reading and understanding?
What I do is I read them to them. As I read each one, they nod their head and understand it. If I have to explain it more, and then I mark it off and I move on to the next one.
Okay. When you read each one to her, did she understand each right that she had?
Yes, she did.
Did she have any questions for you?
No, sir.
Did she appear confused in any way?
Not at all.
Okay. How long have you been interviewing witnesses?
25 years.
25 years? And how many interviews have you conducted as part of your job?
Probably 3,000 to 4,000.
3,000 to 4,000, okay. Have you had training for conducting interviews?
Yes, I have.
What kind of training have you had for conducting interviews with suspects or witnesses?
I've been through numerous.
Just have you keep your voice up.
I'm sorry. I've been through numerous schools. I'm actually the instructor for the Michigan State Police, for our recruit schools, our basic detective schools. I teach all interview schools for us.
And what are some important objectives when you're interviewing? Let me ask you this. Do you interview both suspects and just witnesses also?
Yes, and even victims.
And victims too?
Yes.
And what are some of the more important things that you want to make sure that you have when you're interviewing somebody?
Well, unlike TV, you have to build rapport with the person first. They have to want to talk to you. And so you develop some common things you have in common you may talk to them about first.
Okay. You try to make it comfortable for them?
Absolutely.
You said it's not like TV, so you're not shining a bright light in their face or anything like that?
No, that doesn't work.
Is it a pretty relaxed atmosphere when you're conducting an interview with somebody?
Yes, it is.
Are you yelling at them at all?
Never.
Now, what kind of part of conducting interviews do you develop, say, themes with a suspect when you're interviewing them?
That can happen throughout the interview. There's no particular spot. And themes are just something that we place the blame on. Nobody wants to be a bad person, so we try to use things like alcohol, drug use, or why people do things. And there are actual reasons why people do things.
So you have just common themes or different themes you might, depending on the nature of the case?
That is correct.
Okay. And given these themes, you said it gives something for a suspect to latch onto, so to speak, when talking about what happened?
That is correct. A place to put some of the blame, to make it more, to rationalize a behavior that maybe is not something we can rationalize.
As part of your training, are you careful to make sure that you're not getting misinformation from a suspect or a witness?
That is correct.
How do you do that, sir?
One of the things we like to do is make sure they're engaged in the conversation, make sure they're giving information, what we call corroborating evidence. Sometimes they'll give information that we don't know. That's very important, that we know that they have firsthand information.
So corroborating information, you said?
Yes, information that we're not aware of in the room.
And you said that's important to you?
Yes,
Okay. Why is that important to you?
because it makes us understand that they have firsthand knowledge, and they're not just something that they've heard or something that only that person would know.
Is it important to you as you're interviewing if they correct you or not?
Yes, once again, that shows that they're participating, they're taking an active role, they're telling their story.
Have you also, part of your training include trainings on like false confessions?
Yes, we just recently had one with Brad Byer from the FBI on false confessions.
Okay. As part of your training and part of your job with thousands of interviews, do you make it a point to make sure you're trying to avoid obtaining a false confession?
Yes, I do.
Are there certain clues that you look for or certain things like that or markers or?
Sure, we look for, when I'm watching, and I also supervise 10 employees, and I watch theirs, and I make sure that they're not, the person's giving information, the person's interacting, it's not just yes and no answers. The person's openly talking to them.
So you met with, now that doesn't always preclude a yes or no answer per se.
No,
but
yes and no answers are very acceptable, but as long as there is something else there.
a dialogue.
That's correct, a dialogue.
You met with the defendant early morning hours of the 12th of January, correct?
That is correct.
We went over the Miranda rights. Were you given, did you know much about the case or the facts of the case?
No, just some basics.
What were the basics, do you recall, that you knew
That
going into this interview?
There was a person who had been shot, was in the service, and that somebody else had stated that they were involved and that the defendant was part of the plan.
Did you know much more about the facts of the specific facts of the case beyond that?
They were service people.
Okay. Did you know whether or not you had some information that the other person besides the defendant was in Michigan at the time, around the time of the murder?
Yes, that person was observed, their vehicle was observed
Okay,
in
so
Michigan.
You knew that part?
I knew that, yes.
Any other facts beyond those that you recall?
That I know that there was it was a husband and wife that she was supposedly involved in the plan. I don't know how much you want me to just state.
Just the basics of what you
Okay.
know.
That I knew that that the person outside of the state of Michigan was saying that he had caused the homicide and that had planned it with the defendant.
So did you take an initial statement from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And in that initial statement, what did she say to you, sir?
She didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay. Did you talk about a gentleman named Jeremy Cuellar?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say to you? Can you tell the jury what she said to you about Jeremy Cuellar?
That they had worked together when they were in Korea, that they weren't intimate at first, that she told me they weren't intimate, that they were just friends.
And do you remember roughly how long the initial statement lasted that you took from her?
Approximately, I'm guessing approximately an hour, hour 15.
That's her talking back and forth with you?
Yes, that's correct.
After that, did you just leave the room for a moment?
I took a break at one time.
Okay, you took a break, all right. After you took a break, did you come in, did you speak with the defendant again?
Yes, I did.
Did you confront her at one point that you did not believe she was being honest with you?
Yes, I did.
At that point, did you then have another interview with her?
Yes, I did.
When you were interviewing her the second time, did she appear comfortable with you?
Yes, she did.
Did you also tell her that she could leave at any time?
I did not during the second interview.
Okay.
It's
Was she still able to leave at any time?
still in the same location, same interview, yes.
Now, when you started the second interview, did you use some of the techniques that's taught and some of the themes or anything along those lines with the defendant?
Absolutely, I did.
Okay, tell the jury how that went.
Well, some of the things that I used is that Jeremy was a very controlling person, was taking advantage of her situation because of her being away from her child and hormones that, from having a child postpartum. Some of the themes that we used, she wasn't getting emotional attention at home. Those are all things that we use in this situation that fit for me to be able to give reasons for her to justify maybe a behavior that we may have to talk about.
At that point, did you know her involvement completely at that point?
At this point, I had no idea what her involvement was.
Do you go in thinking guilt or innocence, or as an open book?
No, I'm very neutral. I look at everybody and give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
So when you went back in the room, did she eventually make statements about that night?
Yes, she did.
Was that after you gave her some of the themes and some of the ideas to grab onto?
Yes,
And that video was recorded?
that is correct.
And so we're going to play that video. Not yet, in a second. But essentially, can you tell the jury the basics of what she told you, sir?
She told me that she did plan it with Jeremy and that they had tried on several occasions to make it happen because there was a sister that he was going to take out of the city to get her out of this environment and get her down with him in Georgia, and she didn't want that to happen. So she had actually called him back because they kept missing the opportunities because he had friends around him while he was home. And though the last time she called him back to bring him food, and the attempt was successful.
And then after that, you do a further written statement with her?
Yes, I do.
Detective Longuski, during the time that you interviewed her, did she give you additional details that you had no idea about?
Yeah, she corrected me on several occasions, things that I had wrong or misunderstood.
Great. And did she also, on top of correcting you, give you additional details that you didn't, facts of the case, not correcting necessarily, but giving more of the story, did you learn from her?
Yes, things I did not know.
Your Honor, at this time, the people have moved to admit into evidence exhibit 119. And Your Honor, this is the second interview that Detective Longuski has talked about. The first portion, everything prior to that, as stipulated by the defendant, is not admissible and cannot be in front of the jury. We did have testimony to that, but the actual recording of that, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, we will not be playing that by stipulation from the defense.
And that's correct, Judge, and obviously the parts that we'll be redacting as it's playing are those same inadmissible parts, but it's just better this way rather than chopping up the tape anymore.
And I'll get to that second part in a second. So the first part for defense's request has been redacted out. The second part that we'll be
Correct.
playing,
Correct, yes.
Okay.
the second part that we'll be playing, there are moments that the defense is acting redacted out. Under the law is appropriate, Your Honor. And he is going to be muting that as it goes, playing in front of the jury.
And that portion is not being admitted.
Correct, Judge.
That's accurate.
Okay. With that, those noted executives, are you moving for the admission of number 119?
I am moving for the admission of 119 based on the stipulations and the redactions requested by defense counsel.
I was gonna say those noted exceptions,
Correct,
your
Judge, without
position.
objection.
So, okay, 119 is admitted then.
Oh, all right. Okay, all right. Okay. You want to start playing it? Just to know what you get to the right. Should be all the way back. Yeah, that's we're sure that's the exact. Yes. Yeah, that's a switch. Okay. Well, I just want, you just put it in the beginning. Sorry. Oh, well, I mean, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Look at him. I'm definitely not going on top of these detectives. Because there's no doubt about it. If you had something to do with this, and I'm telling you right now, I don't care. I believe there's a lot of them.
Is that not loud enough? Okay, that's loud enough.
But look at him. I'm definitely not going on top of these detectives. Because there's no doubt about it. If you had something to do with this, and I'm telling you right now, I don't care. I believe there's a lot of things going on. I believe do what normally do. And there's no doubt about it, you are a pawn here. You're the most important thing I care about right now because you know what? You matter to your son. And that matters. You he's been in custody. I want to believe you're 100% clear of this. I don't know what's going on in Georgia. I don't care about Georgia. I care about you and I care about Michigan. I care about Chunk. But I'm telling you right now, he's wrapped you up in this. He's brought you down to something that you don't deserve to be part of. Not for a second. And I'm willing to say that. Without a doubt, I know you don't belong in this. You're not part of this. But what happens is we get involved in situations and we get a manipulated person. We don't see things clearly. You know what? I really believe you said something. covered you up with, all he brainwashed you with, isn't true. It isn't going to be rosy on the other side. He's not the guy that's going to be out there helping you. He's the guy that's going to turn on you. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to give him that opportunity. Still working it out when she was honest with me and told me what was going on. But you got to get out front of this. My hand is out for you right now. For only words, I just met you today. But I'm telling you, I've been doing this 24 years. And I pick people off all the time. Good people, bad people. I'm telling you, what I see in you is a good person. You're not a manipulative person. You're not the person driving this. Now, you may have run along with it without a doubt, and there's no doubt about it, you did. What I'm saying is, you are not driving this. You are not the one pulling the trigger. You need to get out front of this for your son, because you have a future. And I'm just...
Is that too loud?
Without a doubt you are, but don't let him put you underneath the bus, because that's where it's going right now. Because this isn't something you planned. This guy got into you, he got into your head, you guys are working together, he's playing you, and I don't mean it in a bad way. We all get played. We've all been in that situation because we have problems in a relationship. You're going through the hormone thing, whether you know it or not, after having a baby. That 1 year thing is a big time, where you're going up and down. You know what I'm talking more than I do. I know what my wife went through. She was fluctuating. I know we had some hard times because she was having problems with me, and I was like, I wasn't doing anything. But you know what? That's not your fault. But getting out in front of it is what you got to do now. Because how we handle this from this thing forward, it's huge. My dad always said, you know what, Andy, it isn't what we do. It's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. And what you do today, what you do this minute is going to be a huge thing. Because I don't want those guys to wrap it up around you. You don't deserve to be in this circle at all. Unfortunately, you were taken advantage of. And you were by a person who is a manipulator. The guy's cold-blooded, all right? To do what he did was cold-blooded. And he did it because, you know what? Next, he wants to be able to control you. He's going to have you to himself. But there's no doubt about it. You talked about it in your plan because you blow it up bigger than anything. You guys talked about it, but I don't believe it's the girl I'm talking to right now. And I want to be able to say that. You know, you hear about co-signing a loan when they say that. You know, you read a loan co-sign for it? When you got your house, did you have to sign with you? Did your mom put it in?
No, it's just me and my husband.
You know what? But you know what co-sign means, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to put my name on with you. And I'm telling you, when I take and do this today, I'm gonna have to make a report somewhere along the line. Somewhere when we're done, when I get you through this, then I'm gonna make up a report that's positive. Because when I say, hey, I'm going to come alongside you and say, listen, this is the person I'm dealing with. You're a person like my uncle. You're a person that, you know what, there's some outside circumstances here that pushed you to a level that you would never have been to. Now with all the stress and everything that was going on in your life, there's no way this would have happened. And I believe that without a doubt. But in order to do it is, that's somebody I can work with. Because you're not somebody I got to worry about. You're not somebody that I'm scared of. I wouldn't be scared to have you here in Michigan the rest of your life with where my family lives. Do you know what I'm saying? But what you got to do is you got to be upfront. So before I talk to her, I want you to listen. She wanted to be forward. She wants to be forward. She wants to be straight with this because she knows she's been played. And I believe that's all it was. Whether he told you this is going to be a great thing, we're going to go on, we're going to live together, and he's probably talking about all the money you're going to get, we can have the house paid off, and you don't have to put up with this shit because Tyrone doesn't do this and Tyrone doesn't do that, but I'll do this for you. We all fall into that trap. Everybody in this world can understand somebody that falls into that trap. Because what? Because we want to believe. We're going through stress. We're going through changes in our life, things that we don't understand. You've never been through this before. And you got a guy that is an animal. Is someone who took advantage of that situation. And if that's all it is, and that's the person I can go back with, well, you got to explain to me. There's no doubt about it, you guys talked about it, but the person what I'm talking about now is I need to separate. The person back then is not the person I'm talking to today. So when we talk about what was going on back then, if it was a manipulating thing when you guys planned this out, then I can go to bat for you. What was going on? Did he just start working you? Did it start in Korea? Is that where everything started going? Because there's no doubt about it. This whole relationship's going.
In Korea, that's where it started. We weren't sexual or anything, but we were really close.
But you are now.
We were really close.
You guys are probably sexual somewhere throughout all that. You have to be to have this kind of, for him to get this hold on you, he's had to break you sexually to you. I'm guessing first.
Not even just sexually. It's just, I just was feeling so bad, like, the time. Like, nothing, me not wanting to be with him, it's just how I was being treated. I was just feeling so bad. And it's just like he was just there, like, listening and everything. Like, he listened, like, he listened to me, and I felt like with Todd, it was times where he wouldn't listen to me. And that's who I would talk to when things weren't going the way I needed them to go with my husband. I would talk to him.
We've all been there. And when that happens, what's he doing though? He wants you. He wants you for himself. There's no doubt about that. And he gets you sucked in because he becomes such a close friend. And you know what? You guys match just like this, don't you? That's what those guys do. They match to you because you're what he wants. So he's going to be everything that you think he's going to be. And I'm not saying today do this. Before you saw. I mean, it takes us sometimes to stumble before we see the light. But you're not the person that did this. You got to get out front. You got to explain the whole thing. But being part of it, there's no doubt about it. Your word, and I'm stuck with that. But I don't want to tell them that. I want to be able to explain that first and say, hey, listen, this is what happened. But this is the girl who was in Korea, away from her little one. The stress that they put on a female, I can't imagine. I'll be honest with you. I know what the armed services let a mom go away from the little one. That stress alone is enough. And then you got a guy, and I'm going to tell you right now. Ty's not the greatest guy in the world. I don't know if he knows that, but he had condoms in his pocket when he was bound. That day he had condoms in his pocket when he was going back to the party. So I know he probably wasn't the best husband all the time. I get it. If anybody gets it, it's me. Because getting cheated on and, a guy who's not committed to you and he's not giving you the attention you deserve, everybody gets it. When the hormones you're going through, it's not balanced well. You can't balance it. There's people that need medication for that kind of stuff when your hormones are out of balance. And if that's what it was, and he's feeling that need, and he talks you into something, then get out in front of it, because everybody gets swindled. Everybody gets hooked into these things. And if that's all I'm talking about, then we got to explain what was going on. Where did the steps go down? Because this started back in Korea, and you guys started this relationship, and this relationship progressed. I know that. I'm not judging. Trust me, I understand that part of it. Especially because you probably know that Ty's, he's doing things on the side. He's probably been out there somewhat. It happens. You're feeling alone. You're 2,000 miles away from home, you're 2,000 miles away from your little kid, and you got a guy who's, you know what, he's everything when you're out there. When I was in Iraq, I'm telling you what, I don't ever felt more alone in my life. I was on base with a bunch of people, but I didn't know anybody. My wife wasn't there, nobody was there. I was by myself. I've never felt that in my life like I did when I was over there. It's a feeling that only people who have been there understand. When you got a guy right there who's willing, I mean, I can't imagine, I'll be honest with you, if I was working with a girl over there, and she was nice to me, and I would have felt. There's just no doubt about it. It's just because of the situations that we're in. And you going through all the hormonal stuff, you're a victim in this. I'm going to be honest with you, but you need to get out in front of this right now. For your little one, you got to get out in front of this. You got to explain what was going on. What did you guys start talking about? I'm sure this started back in the Korea, the plans, and he's telling you how it's going to be and all this. But this is the time to get out front. I won't bail on you, but we got to get out in front of this.
So, when we were in Korea, I can't really pinpoint exactly when it was. Me and Todd had this big argument, and then, I came back into the building, I was talking to Jeremy, I'm like, man, I don't want to do it no more. Like, I'm tired of this shit, I don't want to deal with it no more. And he was like, so why y'all still together? And I was like, we have a child, and even if I talked to him about divorce, he probably wouldn't even, do it with me. And he was like, I can handle that. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, I can handle it. Like, shit, when I get back, I get a gun, blah, blah, blah. But I never took him serious about it. I never thought that he would.
No, wait, this is where it's not here, though. Okay, I'm in your corner 110%. I'm not bailing. But the one thing I'm not a guy that's going to beat around the bush and go halfway and say that, yeah, he told me this and he was going to do it. Because when I asked you about that night, it's killing you. Because that night, stuff was going down. And whether you weren't sure what was going to happen, you were afraid, you want to keep your little one out of it, you didn't want it to happen in the house, I get that. And I give you credit for letting it happen outside the house. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you didn't get him out of the house, if he'd stayed with you probably till midnight or 12:30, I'm not too sure Jeremy wouldn't come in that house. Because what's he want? He wants you. Do you know what I'm saying? And you knew that was going to happen. What I got to do is talk to that. Because they got him coming there. They know he's coming there. You knew he was coming there. What we need to do is talk about that, because this is off the charts. I'm only telling you it's off the charts. We need to talk about that night. You knew it was going to go down. You were still under his control. There's no doubt. I believe that 100%. But you got to explain what was going on that night. How did you do it? Did you know he was sitting there? Because he was there for a couple days, so you knew what was going on. Were you guys seeing each other while he was in Michigan? Now listen, did you see him while you're in Michigan? Because they're going to take your phone apart. When they take your phone apart, it's all there. So what I want to say is, before they do that, I want you to be honest with me. Because if you guys are planning this, yeah, do it. And you're still, because you know what? You know Ty's not being the best husband. You know that. You're in a lost spot. This guy had you since Korea. He knew that. He's been working you since Korea. That is so common, you don't even realize what happens. Especially if everything's going on. You're caring for a young one, all this stuff. But we got to talk about that night. Because there's no doubt about it, we get planned it. You know what I'm saying? And I see you plan. I'm not saying you planned it, but you're part of that plan. So how did it go that night? Let's talk about that night. Then we'll back up. Then we're going to reorganize all this, okay? Talk to me.
That night, he said that he was in Michigan. He said that he was waiting for him. When he was saying that he was waiting for him, I'm like, he's not at the house. I don't really know where he is, but he's not at the house. I told him, I said, he's going to be coming back soon. He came back to the house, nothing happened.
You called him back to this. Was that
No,
when
when he went to Walmart.
When we went to Walmart, okay.
Yeah. I said, he's going to be coming back. I said, he just left, he's going to be coming back soon. He came back from Walmart, nothing happened. Nothing happened when he left, and nothing happened when he came back. So from there, I was just like, okay, this not going to happen. So when he told us about the food, he was saying that he was going to get the food, and then, wondering where the food is, and I was going to say, never mind, don't bring the food. And then I just said, then I was like, okay, well, you're going to bring the food anyway, just bring it. And then he was out there, and he was watching the house the whole time.
You knew he was there.
Where he was there.
Where was he hiding? Where did you have him at?
He was somewhere about the house, but I don't know exactly because I never told him to hide right here because I don't really know the area. He was out there days before, like figuring out where he was going to be.
Okay. And you guys now, remember, you and I talking about being 100%, because you and I got to be 100%, then we can talk about this, as far as talking about. Because I want to get this right first. We have a good foot going forward. So the plan, when did you start making this plan this is going to happen?
This came in Korea.
So when you're out there underneath all the stress, this all comes up. All right, so he gets you going, man, and you guys just, and when did you guys become romantic? Because he obviously became romantic, because nobody does this for a girl they're not with. You know what I'm saying? And I get it, I'm not.
We're maybe about, maybe April, was maybe about 2 months into Korea.
Okay, so all that time you're getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
All right.
And June was when we and Ty had the argument, and he was like, I'll get it done and I'll do it.
Okay, then when did you come back?
I came back October.
In October you come back. So you started something, now you were talking about doing it in Korea.
Yeah.
So what happened? Why didn't you do it in Korea?
No, it was just planned in Korea. It wasn't to be done in Korea. It was just planned in Korea when we got back to the States.
Okay, so you get back to the States. Let's kind of go through it step by step. You start talking. Your relationship with Ty going down?
It wasn't really going down, but it wasn't being picked back up to where it used to be. It was kind of like, it was still low, but it wasn't becoming higher than what it needed to be, or what it used to be.
To where you wanted it back up to, he wasn't bringing it back up?
He wasn't bringing it back up.
Okay. Do you think some of that is because you have this interest now in Jeremy? Jeremy's kind of all that. He kind of filled that void, didn't he, when you started? The things that Ty wasn't giving you, Jeremy was.
Emotionally, yeah, he was.
Okay. And so the plan was obviously that he's going to do this. So this starts going, how does it start to progress?
Well, it just started to progress by us being back here, and he's like, I want to see you. When can I see you? Can you come over here? And I'm like, I can't do that because we're back stateside now. And he's like, well, I need to hurry up and get this done, which is when it was brought up again because we planned it, but I didn't take it serious because even though
this is where you and I stay straight, because you did take it serious because you knew he was out there that night
with
a gun. I mean, so you know what's gonna.
Yeah,
you may not take these stuff serious.
But in the beginning,
you're doing talk.
Exactly.
But you want to be with Jeremy, right? At this point, he has you believing that this is the guy.
At this point, yeah, that this is the person that I need to be with. That is gonna do everything for me and my son.
Okay. And Jeremy says, and I'm just telling you something that Jeremy says. Jeremy says you weren't going to divorce him because if he died, you got that money, so then give your boy a good start.
No.
He's getting the money, there's like $400,000 or something you're going to get or something.
That's what our life insurance is.
Right.
That's the life insurance. I haven't even got any of that.
Okay, but that would give your boy a good start, because Jeremy knew about that. You told him about that?
All of the soldiers have it. It's a requirement. Everybody has it.
Okay, so you guys just knew that would be something you would do?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was one of the reasons he decided to do it rather than just divorce him, is that right?
That's another reason, yes.
Okay, well that makes sense though, you know what I'm saying? At least you're looking out for your son, you know what I mean? You're going to have something, because without a husband, it takes a while to get on your feet. Now, what is the plan, like, once this is done, are you gonna move back down there, are we gonna be with Jeremy? Was he gonna say, once we get back down to Georgia, are you guys gonna hook back up? What's the plan?
Yeah, so the plan was, you know, I get back to Georgia, and then he moves in and we go from there, just being together.
Okay. Yeah, so now, when it comes up that day, how do you text him that you're calling him back with the food? How do you tell him that he's coming back? Is he coming, let's be honest, I remember this, I told you, when they take these phones from, I don't want to say that I believe you 100% and say, hey, listen, this is what she told me, I believe you 100%, and then find out that your Snapchats and all that stuff say,
I told him that he was bringing us back something.
he's bringing back the food, so where was he at? Where did he say, where am I at? It's gonna come out, it's gonna all show up.
So when he came back from Walmart, it didn't happen.
Did you just not see him, or what happened? What did he say?
I don't know what happened, maybe he got,
We've talked to him since then.
I think he said that he had somebody with him in the car.
Okay.
And I think that's why he said that it didn't happen. And he was just like, never mind, we'll just try another day. And he was still in the area, and then I said, well, he's about to bring us something to eat. And then that's when he came back.
Okay, so actually, he was gonna call it off because he had the guy, because he got rid of that guy, I think the guy who got the cold feet, from what I understand. Because he's talking on that end, you know what I'm saying? So you called him and said, well, hold on, I'm just coming back to bring food.
Yeah, I said that he was coming back to bring us something to eat.
Okay, so he comes back and hides, you guys see each other face to face, because he's at the house, right by the house, does he ever come in that house? Because remember,
We never seen each other face to face the entire time he was there. Even when he came, like, before, he would be like, well, come outside, come meet me. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. We never met face to face. Even though he asked, we never met face to face.
okay, so you didn't go outside, why didn't you go outside? You knew he was casing the place for a couple of days.
Because I knew he was, and then too, I don't know the area, so I didn't know if somebody could have been outside watching, and then it was other times where he would say, come outside, and my stepmom-in-law would be in the house, and I'd be like, no.
Okay. So, kind of recap, this all starts in Korea. What is gonna come out in the Snapchat that we're not talking about yet? I mean, I wanna make you look as honest. Being honest with me now looks better than them just painting a picture, you know what I'm saying? You're telling them to hold on and come back, you're calling them back. You wanted it done that night rather than waiting for another day?
Yeah, pretty much, because we're supposed to be leaving on the 2nd.
You're supposed to live on the second
We're
one.
supposed to be leaving, going back to Georgia on the 2nd. And another thing is, his sister was supposed to be coming back to Georgia with us. And that's another thing that I didn't want to happen, but Tanya wasn't giving me a say, so he's like, well, you know, my mama can't take care of her, and I have to look out for my siblings, so she's gonna come stay with us. And while we were in Colorado, his brother was living with us.
And that's not fair to you, really.
We didn't really have time to enjoy our own space, because as soon as we got married and we lived off close in an apartment, the next month he went and got his brother, and he stayed with us all the way up until maybe a couple months before we left Colorado.
Okay. All right, so this time he's gonna bring his sister on the second.
Yeah.
So you didn't want it to happen down there with her. So were you kind of looking out for her?
Yeah.
Or didn't you just want?
Kind of looking out for her too, but mainly I just knew I didn't want, another thing, I didn't want her coming to stay with us.
Okay, so you didn't want to go down there, you didn't want her to come with you, that's in other words, so you wanted it done before you left? Okay. Were you pretty adamant with them? I mean, what was the message gonna show you, like, hey, get
Yeah,
set
I'd
up?
be like, hey, like, you know, hurry up, he's on the way back, or, don't leave yet, he's outside, or it's just messages like that.
Was Jeremy getting cold feet?
I don't think he was getting cold feet, because every time that he would come out, it wasn't even it was something. Like, I remember one time, Todd came home and he had, like, his brother with him. I think every time it was like he had somebody with him.
Mm-hmm. And so he didn't want to do it with somebody with him?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and Ty came home, he had somebody with him, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Like, the other times where he would be at the house, I think that was the reason why he didn't get cold feet. He just didn't want,
You know what? You know what that says for you guys? I mean, that's actually, when you look at it, you didn't want to take out somebody who didn't belong, you know what I mean? You wanted Ty gone, but you didn't want to hurt somebody innocent. That's, you know what I mean? That says something for you. There are a lot of people who just shoot everybody, you know what I'm saying? So, as far as now, are you sad that you planned this out with them?
yeah, that's why, even though I wasn't being 100% truthful in the beginning, that's why I kept saying that.
Would you say you weren't 100% truthful? That's a kind of a major 100%. You were
Because of
you were
me saying that.
25%. Would you agree to that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, I almost think that these guys,
But that's why when I kept saying that, if, with what I know now, if I could, I would go back and not do it. I wouldn't even talk to Jeremy at all, knowing that everything would have gone like this.
but Jeremy was gonna go and you called him back. You know what I'm saying? And I get why you called him back. I mean, knowing now, what do you think should happen to you right now?
I don't know. Because myself, I feel just as guilty as him.
Well, I agree. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, you helped plan it, he was gonna leave that night. I said, no, get it done, because you want it done before the second, before you leave. So on New Year's Eve,
But I know that even though he didn't get it done that night, he was gonna just come back the next day.
right, and you guys would be able to be together. So your plan was to go together, moving together down in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's a better environment to raise your son with him than Ty? With Jeremy than Ty?
That's how I was feeling, yeah, because there's so much that I dealt with, like, even just with the baby, it's so many times where, because I've dealt with the baby majority than Todd. Like, I can count on my finger how many times he's given him a bath. I can count on my finger how many times I've had a break after I've worked the same amount of hours that he worked, and I still have to come home and do everything for the baby.
I agree, that's not fair.
And it's like the reason why why the relationship and a bond was built between me and Jeremy, because he will always tell me, you don't have to worry about that. When me and you get together, I'll make sure you have your breaks. I'll do this for the baby. I'll do that. And it just made me really feel like that all of that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, why would you just divorce him?
I talked to him about it, and he didn't want to.
No, you called him back. You were in the plan. Why didn't you call the plan out? He was leaving that night. Why didn't you call the plan out and say, I'll just divorce him? Was it because he had some good money to spend out for your kid?
Not even just the money. It's just
Not even
that
just the money, or was it? I mean, is the money part of it?
the money is part of it, yes.
Okay.
But main reason being is because I just felt like if I would have called it off, like Jeremy probably would have been upset at the fact that I called it off, and I didn't want him mad at me.
Okay, but you understand though, calling it off would have saved your husband's life. You could have divorced him. Was Ty a bad man?
Not bad enough for this. And honestly, that's just my remorse. That's really how I feel.
I believe you do. I don't believe you do it today. But you put your needs and your wants above somebody's life.
I did.
$400,000 is not what Ty is.
That's fine.
You felt it was before. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah.
Well, let me think what we can do here. What did Ty say he did with the gun?
What did Ty?
What did Jeremy say he did with the gun? I'm sorry.
I never asked after it happened, and we never talked about it.
Did you see him run off then? Because you run out, where did you, now we're being 100% honest.
Yeah,
You guys had talked about.
I didn't see him.
Okay.
When I got out there, I didn't see him, but again, I didn't look.
These Snapchat messages, now I know you're in a different place than you are right now, okay? Are they gonna make you look like you're pushing this? Because you're calling them back?
Yeah. It's gonna make me look like I pushed it.
Okay. All right.
From me calling him back, it's gonna make me look.
Because he wanted to bail on the issue that night? He didn't want to do it that night?
Yeah, but I know words don't mean anything, but I just know that he was gonna come back the next day.
Right. And you didn't want to wait until after the second? So
Yeah, and because after the second, I knew it would happen. I knew that Kiesha was gonna be living with us, which sisters not just knew that I was just gonna be more unhappy.
All right.
And that's how I felt. I was unhappy.
Unhappy. Well, my wife's been unhappy with me. I'm glad that she didn't do that. You know what I mean? I wish you could have waited and thought this out and divorced them. But let me see what I can do here. Let me think of something. Let me see if there's anything else I want to clear up. I don't want them to come around, because they're going to build this up, you know that. And Jeremy's going to bail on you. And the Snapchat is going to help.
Already has.
Give me a second, I'll be right back. I'm not going, I'm gonna just go here, I'm not gonna go down the hallway, get there, run back, just have time to think what we can do. I just checked on that, because I told that works in the crime line and stuff like that. One of the things they're saying is, you know, this guy that was with him, who was the guy that was with him when he was up here? He was up here for like 3 days. So where did he stand while he's up here?
He went back and forth
To where?
back and forth to Chicago.
He drove back and forth every day.
Every day he drove back and
Who
forth.
was the guy that was with him?
He, 2 different occasions, 2 different days, he was with 2 different people. One person that he was with, his name Bishop, that's his nickname, but his real name is Hector Rodriguez. And the other person that he was with, his name is Jay, but I don't know his full name.
Was Hector with him the night that he was gonna bail that it happened? Because somebody got on nervous speed.
I think Bishop is the one who bailed, but we didn't talk about it after it happened, but Bishop was the one who was with him majority of the time.
Okay, Bishop is the one who was the majority of the time. His name's Hector Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Okay, and how does he know him? From the service or what?
No, from Chicago.
Okay, so he's just one of the,
They friends, they grew up together.
okay, who's the other guy that was with him?
Jay, I don't know his full name, but they're from Chicago.
So he'd come up every night and kind of watch the place. Was he gonna try? I mean, like, if
He
you
was
were,
trying it before, he wasn't like scoping out to see when he should do it, he was trying before.
okay, but he wasn't getting the opportunity.
Yeah.
So were you guys talking, because they're gonna get your correspondent every day, and you let them,
We were talking.
and it just wasn't working out, that he
Yeah,
had a chance?
yeah, he would be like, what's today looking like? And I'd be like, well, he's out cutting hair, and he's like, okay, well, we'll be up there in a few hours, and then he'll come up here and scope out and see if he'll come home by himself or if he wouldn't, and then he would try to take the opportunity.
Okay, so he was trying for 4 days, so people, because neighbors saw the car sitting there.
That's what they said.
Yeah, so he wasn't watching for you, trying to plan it. He was actually trying those nights, but just couldn't make it happen because there was other people with Ty.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're trying to get them separate and stuff like that, and you're,
Not even just getting him separate, but yes, I was letting him know where he was going and him being back at the house. Like, he'll be on the way to the house, or he's already gone.
okay. So 4 days, you guys are trying to kind of get this going. So there's a thinking about this. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, you said you feel about as responsible as Jeremy is. I mean, would you say this is a 50-50 you guys were on this?
Yeah. Because I knew all about it, and like I said, I probably could have stopped it, but the reason that I didn't, because I felt like he would, be mad at me or,
And not love you anymore?
yeah. Because I just felt like I wasn't getting that love at home like I wanted to.
I get that. Yeah, we go through these valleys. How we handle them really is different from, couple to couple. Would you agree to handle this the best?
It wasn't handled good at all.
What do you think happened to Jeremy?
I don't know, to be honest. I know that I don't want anything after this. I don't want anything to do with him. Like, if he has to sit in jail, then so be it. Because even if this was, this was a 50-50 thing, he talked about it to where police were able to call back up here, and he instantly said, this was me and her. It was never, well, I felt this type of way about him, so I scoped out and I did it. He wasn't thinking about taking care of me and my child like he told me that he would. He instantly just said, this is me and her, we playing this out together.
Yeah. So, but even though he does that, I mean, you were upset that you were worried that he wouldn't like you, be mad at you. But still, I mean, isn't that a huge step to kill your husband just to be with another guy?
It's a very huge.
How would you look at it? If this is somebody else, if you were watching this on your TV shows,
I would think it, like, even though that my husband wasn't, like, physically abusive, I would think of it as, like, battered woman syndrome or something, because that's kind of how I felt.
but he didn't batter you.
He didn't.
You say he's a pretty good guy, though.
He was. However, just the emotional thing, and then with me being emotional with Jeremy, there were times where he put his hands on me, and, I stayed with them and continued pursuing a relationship like I did when I could have stopped, because every time it happened, he
Could have stopped with Jeremy or something?
yes.
Yeah, you could have.
Because every time it happened, he's like, I'm sorry, I won't do that again.
So Jeremy put his hands on you?
Yeah.
still stay with him,
And
still
I
love him.
still stay with him because I felt like he was giving me that love.
But you know, that, I guess the biggest thing that I'm struggling with, I'm trying to think how I can work with you on this, but man, I really struggle with the idea that the money was the biggest factor. I mean, because you didn't want to come down there with you, I get that. But I get you want to have a life for your son, but man, why not just divorce him? Do you wish you would have just divorced him?
I wish I would have just divorced him.
The
Because
money,
but that's why I say like the money played a part, but it wasn't the biggest part.
or any part of it. I mean, the
Yeah,
money.
exactly.
A guy's dad who wasn't a horrible husband, I deal with horrible husbands, that guy wasn't a horrible husband, but he just wasn't emotionally into you as much as he was.
Yeah, but whenever we would talk about divorce or anything or counseling, nothing.
You weren't gonna do
He
it.
wasn't gonna do it, and I always felt like, even when we got together, I always felt like he just did it because, you know, we get paid extra for being married. We get paid extra for having a child. And because I wasn't getting that love or anything, I felt like that's the only reason why he even married me. Even though I said that was one of the happiest days of my life, which it was, because that was like my pick me moment.
Right.
But after, it wasn't like he was still trying to pick me. It was just, I got you now, so whatever.
Right.
And whenever I would talk about counsel, whenever I would say something about a divorce, he wasn't going for it.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I'm an old dude, and I'm not gonna be around a lot, you know what I'm saying? So what I wanna do is, of those two detectives, which one do you like the best?
Pepper's he's the one who,
Younger one or older one?
the bigger, fatter one, the one that's here, not the tall one, the Officer Pepper's.
All right.
But he talks to Tyrone, but even though I asked him not to say anything, he didn't say anything, so he
Talk to Tyrone, oh, to
the
his
big
dad.
Tyrone, yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is he's gotta be able to, I mean, this has gotta, you know, something's gonna happen, you understand that. I mean, you're a smart girl, you're going to college. This is a big screw up, all right? But what I wanna do is I wanna explain to him that I think you regret it, I do. I think you overdid it, yeah, I do. I mean, but he's the guy that's gotta take it back to Berrien County, all right? He's the guy that's gotta tell your side of what's going on. Get out in front of this, because Jeremy's going to. And if you can take and, hey, listen, I'm gonna work with them, because Jeremy is a killer. I mean, you basically were right there. He knew he was hiding outside that house. He's somewhere there. That kind of guy I don't want in Michigan, all right? So you kind of got a thing with Jeremy. You might be able to work with him and explain what was going on. You're wrong. Like you said, it's 50%. You guys planned this and did this for 4 days. You tried to kill him. And then you pull back on the last day because you don't want to have on the second. So you call him back and say, hey, let's get this done today. And I get where you're at, but my point is we got to be able to explain this. Jeremy's still on board, you know what I mean? So when I talk to him, like, you're going to give me a few seconds, just relax, you have your bars up here in your water. I want to go and explain to him what's going on. It's going to take me just a little bit to explain to him. I want to bring him in here, and I'm going to kind of go over everything we said. Does that make sense? Okay? You know, before you do that, I need your desk. I want to take it out. Send out a piece of paper. Because I don't want to take it. Sometimes things get mixed up a little bit like that. I don't want to. So wires. So bad. I don't want things to get really get put in your mouth like that. So. So, ask, did you plan on Jeremy to Tyrone will be your answer? Did this plan, I want to put this, because it was back in Korea when everything was starting to go for you, going south for it. Plan to start Korea. You just, I'm gonna ask that. Right, and I'm not saying it's all, but was the money part of the reason for the murder?
That was a family life, that was a lot for my family. Like,
You had to, I get that, man, they're gonna understand that part of it.
it was like now, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do for my son and everything else, like.
So did you try for 4 days to work together to kill Tyrone?
Yes.
Now I'm gonna ask you the big question. Would you just divorce him today?
Yes.
Did I threaten or promise you anything today? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great, 1 being crappy, how do you think I treated you? 10. I want to go through this with you. And then we're going to take it, make sure we got our ducks kind of in a row. Take your pen here. Just write your name across the top. Now we'll do the roll of the statement with him. Right. I said, here, did you plan with Jeremy to kill Tyrone? He said yes. I put it in quotes to go and put your initials there. Did this plan start in Korea? I think that's important. He said yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Was the money part of the reason for the murder? He said yes. I screwed up, made a line that would use the initial above that, so now that we crossed that out together. Actually, just draw a blue line, make sure that you want, just so you cross that out too, okay? Did you try for 4 days to work together to kill Tyrone? He said yes. You might want to write in, why didn't you do it? Because there were other people, right? There were other people, right in there, maybe we didn't do it because there were other people. So at least show that you didn't want to shoot somebody innocent. We say other people.
Other people with him.
Yeah, so we didn't do it on those days, right? That's right, you know? You're a lot better, say, you read it, your handwriting's a lot better than mine.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Would you just divorce him today? Oh, I'll put a question mark after that, I didn't do that. He said yes, go bring us there. Okay, draw a line through there, I screwed up there with both those. To something there. Okay, initial above it, we cross those out. And I said, that's my last name. Did Lieutenant Longuski threaten or promise you anything? He said,
No.
okay, go initial there. like a 10 today.
Mhm.
All right, go ahead and circle that for me. It just matters to me. That's just how we get along. Put a sign across the bottom, if you would. Defensor Rodriguez, you know where he lives?
Who? Oh, no, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what he was. I thought you said detective right now.
No, actor. And today's the 12th. Let's put the date, lawyer name, and I'm right beside you here. So it's 1/12 of 19. The time is 3:15 a.m. All right. Hey, we'll just hold, you already know me up this late, so we'll see, we'll talk from there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this with me, I wanna go over this with him, and I wanna bring this in, I wanna go over this statement with him. Is there anything else we need to tell him?
We were sexual.
That you were sexual? Okay. Yeah, because that's kinda how you guys, that's how the relationship goes to that level that
Yeah.
you really shouldn't get to, because then this stuff kinda happens, you know, when we start thinking.
And that's why Jeremy didn't like him. Because, well, that's why my husband and Jeremy didn't talk. Because,
Did Tyrone know you guys are sexual
no,
relations?
not because of that. So one day me and Jeremy were talking and he complimented me, like, sent me some, no. He sent me some heart eyes and then like later on at night, it was after 9 o'clock and he was like, what you doing? I'm trying to come see you. And that, at that time we weren't sexual. We had never like seen each other like outside of work because we were just talking. And Ty saw it and he was like, you know, I don't want you talking to him no more. And that was the reason why they weren't cordial.
Okay. All right, I'm just, sorry, real quick, I'm sure. I don't know if you don't know, should. As far as, what's that?
That was really much more.
Yeah. That was kind of like one of the shows you see on TV, isn't it? It's been a cancellation, I'm sorry for it. Because I think it was a poor decision, emotional poor decision.
I just think they would put me in jail and just take my child away from me.
You know, the thing I struggle with the most, you have 4 days to stop. Walk away. You know,
And that's really what
kind of
ended up, it's just eating at me because I know I could have stopped it, but it's like, I just felt like if I would have tried to stop it, he would have been mad at me because even in Korea, like,
But it's just love. It's just, man, who cares if you get a
No,
boyfriend?
but
You can get
like-
another boyfriend.
yeah, but not even that, it's just that even in Korea, like if we would argue about something, I'm like, you know what, I'm done with you, like, he would not even let me be done. He would come to my room, he would get the master key in Korea and just walk in there, like, I just felt like I really
But
put
Ty
it
can
away.
protect you. You told Ty would protect you, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Sounds like he was a decent dude. I mean, in hindsight, would you say he was probably a better guy than Jeremy?
Yeah.
Well, let me go get him. Anything else? You were sexual, you said you want to say that.
Yeah.
But that's probably all, that's what, you can tell him that when he comes in. I'll be back, and it's gonna take me a few minutes, I gotta walk down the hall and grab him, okay? Just gonna hang tight, take a drink of water, just relax, all right? I know it's been a long day for you. about Jeremy, and I kind of talked to him on the way down. I told him we made a statement. I told him you were honest with me. I think he appreciates that. I think he's floored, you know what I mean, like all of us are. It's a good shock. Yeah, that's something we just don't see every day. But we're going through a statement. I just want to go through this with you. I'm going to kind of read it. We'll read it together. I'm just going to go through it real quick. I said, you signed at the top. She's in blue. Everything she did is in blue. Everything I did was in black. I said, did you plan, Jeremy, to kill Tyrone? And he said,
Yes.
did the plan start in Korea?
Yes.
He started a relationship in Korea. She's alone. She doesn't have a kid with her. So there were some emotional factors, but would you really just got way too deep with him?
Yes.
Was the money part of the reason for the murder?
Yes.
Did you try for 4 days to work together to kill Tyrone?
Yes.
And he says, other people were with him, so we didn't do it on those days. So you guys said there were cars there, which he says he wasn't scoping it. He just couldn't get a clean spot without somebody else there. Would you just divorce him today? He said. And I said, did Lieutenant Longuski threaten you or promise you anything? He said,
No.
and I put a 10 there, and you said it was a 10. What is that?
10 for hiding treatment.
Yeah. We had a good conversation, so I feel bad for her. I think it's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my career, in 24 years of doing it. But is there anything else you want to ask right now? That this is her chance to get out in front of this, at least explain her side of it. And, I mean, Tyrone, obviously you didn't shoot him, but Tyrone did, but you got to explain.
Oh, yeah, I mean, so basically, everything he's saying is accurate. This happened in Korea, it started in Korea, and you come back here, and
It's accurate.
and you guys were communicating, well, you were here at Tyrone's,
Yeah.
you and Jeremy?
Yeah.
And they wanted to do it before they went down there. She wanted it done because she was going to bring her sister down with them. And she didn't want her sister down there. So that's why they kind of rushed it on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
his Tyrone's sister, yeah.
Okay.
And I just was feeling bad because I didn't want another one of his siblings coming to stay with us because as soon as we got married, a month later, out of our new apartment, he went to go get his brother, and his brother was living with us, and I was just unhappy with it.
So that went pretty bad that time, and so this time with sister.
Yeah, because I was telling him, like, I don't want her to come stay with us, and he's like, well, I want to get her out of the city, she's going to come live with us. Like, I didn't have a say-so on it.
Okay. Seems like it's probably been like that for a while, like maybe there's.
I never really had a say-so in anything. Like, if I bring up a suggestion about us, because I had a suggestion about us going to marriage council, and I had a suggestion about us going to divorce, and he was not hearing any of this.
Just shutting it all down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you understand, I mean, I know you're taking college classes, you're a smart girl. This is a pretty big situation, you understand that?
Okay.
I don't know what the detectives are going to do, but I'm going to walk over, we're going to get the other detectives, they're going to come back and get you. I don't know what their plans are, but I'm guessing I don't think you're probably going home tonight, would be a fair guessing, if I were guessing. So, but they'll make that decision as far as us. Anything else you want to tell me? All right. Now, we're going to step out, we'll be back, just want to hang tight just a little bit, okay? Before I get him. You want to grab your partner's jacket, and you can have that if you guys go outside there. And, yep.
All right, hang tight, we'll be right back, okay?
Appreciate being honest.
Detective, Exhibit 119 indicates there's about 12 minutes left.
Is there any more interviewing or anything along those lines after that, after you step out with Officer Peppers?
No, sir.
Now, indicated earlier you started out with not knowing a whole lot of facts about the case, is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you learn some more facts about the case in your first interview with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Facts about food and coming home to deliver food and things like that?
That is correct.
Did you know that beforehand at all?
No, I did not.
And you talked, you mentioned things to her about, hey, you gotta be up front, you gotta get out in front of this, you're getting cheated on, you're being manipulated. Did you know for facts that she was being cheated on or being manipulated?
I did not.
Why did you say that, sir?
Just themes, once again, to help a person talk. I mean, it's a lot easier to talk about a victim who's maybe not the best victim in the world.
In the end, she admitted that Ty was a pretty decent guy.
Yes, it went a lot different than what I thought.
A lot different from what you initially thought.
Yes,
Okay. He would protect her,
yes,
take care of her according to her.
that's what she said.
So when you're throwing these themes out or putting themes out there for people, those aren't necessarily your personal beliefs at all.
No, they're not.
And she gave you, there were statements in from Cuellar. She indicated in the interview she had a fight with her husband around June in Korea.
Yes, that's correct.
Was that a fact that you knew prior to the interview?
No, I did not.
And then Cuellar indicated to her, well, I can take care of that?
That's correct.
She never once told you, she said, no, don't do that, did she?
No, she did not.
Actually, she indicated to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, she had a plan for after the murder, correct?
I'm sorry, sir.
She had a plan for after the murder with Jeremy?
That she was going to move back down to Georgia, yes.
Did you know that prior to the interview?
No, I did not.
At one point, you asked her, you asked the question, where was he staying up here?
Yes, I thought he was probably, made the assumption that he was staying somewhere in the area.
Did she correct you about that?
Yes, she did. She told me that he was driving back and forth, which was news, so I didn't think of that.
Okay, so you have to speak up.
I'm sorry, that was news to me. I didn't think of that. I didn't think that was an option.
So is that, you talked earlier about when you're interviewing people and they give you further details or correct you, is that important to you when she corrected you at times?
Absolutely. Something we look for is something they tell us that is a fact that I didn't know.
And she indicated to you that he would contact her saying, what is it looking like today? And that she would then give the rundown of what the victim was doing.
What he was doing or where he was at. Yes.
She also indicated to you that she lied to his family and to her family?
That's correct.
You talked a little bit with her about her husband and what she knew, what he knew, Sergeant Hassel knew about her and Cuellar, correct?
That's correct.
And she gave you a detail about seeing a text with heart eyes?
Yes, and I didn't recall that till the video that he didn't want her talking to him anymore.
Is that some of those additional details you look for?
Yes, that is correct.
At the end, you said again, hey, this is your chance. Anything you have to say, get out in front of it. This is your chance, correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I would move to admit People's Exhibit 117 into evidence, the Miranda warning sheet.
No objection. Go.
117 is admitted.
Thank you. And I'll show it briefly. And her signature is in blue.
That is correct.
This was done before your interview with her.
Yes, it was.
Afterwards, you also brought Officer Peppers in,
Yes, I did.
and she confirmed everything again.
That is correct.
She mentioned the sister a couple, maybe 3 times throughout the interview. I'm not sure I'm correct on that, but she mentioned it at least 2 to 3 times.
That is correct.
Now, the theme, you said I can go to bat for you if you're being manipulated, and the theme of manipulation, did that theme seem to change as the interview progressed?
Yes, when I realized she was more involved than what originally she could have been.
Involved in the planning of everything?
Yes, that is correct.
You asked her, is it gonna look like you're pushing it? And what did she say?
She said it would.
The hanging must have been marked as People's Exhibit 118. If I can have you take a look at that. You familiar with People's Exhibit 118?
Yes, the statement we made that night.
Again, if I can just have you keep your voice up.
I'm sorry. That's a statement that we made that night.
The written statement?
Written statement,
Is
yes.
that a copy of it, actually?
This could be a copy of your original, I'm not sure.
Is that fair and accurate?
Very much so.
Okay. What she wrote is in blue?
That is correct.
What you wrote is in black?
That is correct.
You want to move to admit 118 in evidence?
No objection.
118 is admitted.
I just have you hold that up for the jury and show that to them. And can you read again exactly what is stated on that, what she wrote?
Yes, the first question I asked was, did you plan with Jeremy to kill Tyrone? Her statement was yes, so I put it in quotes. Then we came back later and we have her initial it. The second one is, did this plan start in Korea? She said yes, in quotes, then her initials. The third one was the money part of the reason for the murder? She said yes, in quotes, and then her initials. And then on number 4, I make a mistake, and sometimes do that on purpose, sometimes it's an accident, but I have them initial above it just to show that there's nothing on this paper that we didn't do together. And I said, did you try for 4 days to work together to kill Tyrone? And she said yes. And then when she came back in the room, she actually wrote on it also, other people were with him, so we didn't do it on these days, on the first days.
And all the blue, that's in her own writing.
Blue is her writing, correct. And then the fifth one, I said, would you just divorce him today? And she said yes, in her initials. She also put a question mark in there, I didn't have that. I made one more mistake where she initialed, and I said, did Lieutenant Longuski threaten or promise you anything? And she said no, and initialed it. And then I asked her how I treated her, and I had to write a 10 out to the side, 1 to 10, on how I treated her. And then we both signed and dated at the bottom.
Nothing additional. Thank you, sir.
Objection revoked.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a recess at this time. Let's go back, stretch your legs for a minute. Go back into the jury room. Again, you can talk about anything you want except for this case. We'll take about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
All rise, please. Court's in recess.